Welcome, everyone, to SI Media with Jimmy Traina. Thank you for listening. Happy Thanksgiving. Pod's out a couple of days earlier this week. Usually we come out on Thursday mornings, right on Tuesday this week. So you guys can enjoy your Thanksgiving, and hopefully you give us a listen if you're traveling around and doing some stuff Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Appreciate you guys listening. Excellent show for the NFL audience out there. We have Mike North, who has been on the pod before the season started. He's the VP of broadcast planning for the NFL. And we get a whole sort of lesson about flex scheduling, what the league looks for, the networks, why there hasn't been flex yet this year, what could possibly be flexed, get into a bunch of NFL schedule stuff. There's games on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. There's a couple of Saturday games. Get into all NFL schedule stuff with Mike North, the NFL VP of broadcast planning, on this episode. Also, Sal Licata, Traina Thoughts, following Mike North, where we talk about a bunch of things with Thanksgiving and some other amusing topics with Sal. Before we get to it, just a reminder, if you've missed any recent episodes of SI Media with Jimmy Traina, go into the archives and check them out. We had the great Ian Eagle on last week. RG3, Peter Schrager, Dan Patrick, Bill Simmons, Joe Buck, Troy Aikman have all been recent guests on SI Media with Jimmy Traina. So give those a listen in the archives, especially if you're traveling, you got some time to listen to podcasts. Subscribe. It's the most important thing. Please subscribe to the pod and leave a review on Apple if you can. All right, Mike North, NFL VP of Broadcast Planning, followed by Sal Licata and Traina Thoughts, all right here, right now, on SI Media with Jimmy Traina. All right, joining me now, had him on right before the season started, loved the conversation, and it's a great week to have him back, and I'll explain why. He is the VP of Broadcast Planning from the NFL. He makes, along with some other people, it's not just him, but he is a big part of the schedule planning committee for the NFL. As we get down here to the nitty gritty with the season, we have a Black Friday game. We're going to have some Saturday games, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and of course, flex. So perfect week to speak to Mike North. Mike, how's it going?
Good to see you, Jimmy. All is well. Thanks.
Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. Like I said, we have a Black Friday game this week for the first time ever. We've got some interesting primetime stuff coming up as the regular season winds down. Before I get into any of that, I'm so glad you're on for this reason. I don't go a day where I don't have either a podcast listener, someone who reads my column, someone who follows me on Twitter, asks me about flex. So I just want to do like a little primer, if I can, for the listeners. The one thing I want to start with this, because we all fall into this trap. I know I do too, where we say like, oh, why didn't NBC flex this? And now we have ESPN. And it's not the networks, it's the NFL, right. I'm sure, in conjunction with the networks. I'd love to know the process, how much input the networks have, who's ultimately making the decision on whether a Sunday night or Monday night game, and in this year, Thursday night game, gets flexed. So if you don't mind, I'd love to start there.
Yeah, 10-cent tour real quick. Just like we do back in March, April, and May when we're building the schedule, the networks have a lot of opportunity to request, suggest, encourage, cajole, arm twist. But at the end of the day, there's no two ways around it. The National Football League makes a schedule. The commissioner of the National Football League makes every scheduling decision. So when we ask about how does it finally get done, it's conversations with the scheduling team, Hans Schroeder, Howard Katz, Ani Bose, myself, Blake, Charlotte, Lucy, everybody that's part of the team. We talk to the network partners on a regular basis. And then we make a recommendation to our bosses and eventually to their boss. And at the end of the day, it's no two ways around it. The league makes a decision. The commissioner has final authority over all NFL games. And look, there's always some questions, and the questions are fair. One thing I think people fail to realize or remember is that the object of flexible scheduling for Sunday Night Football, and now for Monday night and for Thursday night, the object of flexible scheduling is never about getting the best game into prime time. It's about getting out of a game that has fallen, short of expectations. The crystal ball in May wasn't clear, and now both teams are, eliminated from playoff contention. It's hard to say anybody's season is over in week 8, 9, 10. So I know there were people that were curious about staying with Bears Chargers. I know there were people curious about us staying with Vikings Broncos, and last night turned out to be a pretty good game, and the Broncos are a pretty good story now. So every now and then you get a little lucky. Every now and then, the chips don't fall your way, but it's never about getting to the best game. Because as you can imagine, CBS and Fox, when they get their schedules in May, they circle a handful of games and think this is great. Awesome that we ended up with this one. And then you get there and it turns out to be even bigger than you thought. And then suddenly the NFL is going to come and take it away from us to give it to our competitor. How's that fair? So it's a balancing act. It's trying to do right by everybody, and it's trying to do right by the fans. And if we've got a game in prime time that is clearly no longer got playoff implications, and there's a game on Sunday afternoon on CBS or Fox that isn't their very best game, so we're not gutting them completely, that's where you'll see a flex along the way somewhere here, I'm sure, where you get a team that has played their way into national attention, maybe like a Houston, and then you'll find those guys kind of moving into a national window. Hard to say in 8, 9, or 10 that anybody's season is over. As you get later in the year, we're looking for games with playoff implications in every window. That's probably where you'll see us make a move if we make one.
Okay, so that's really interesting there, and I learned something, because I always thought you wanted the best game on a Sunday night, for instance. And so this is all hypothetical. Let's say it's a CBS doubleheader week, and they have a great, 425 game involving the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. And they have a solid 1 o'clock game. And the Sunday night game might be, let's say, mediocre. You're not going to flex that because it's not about... You're only going to flex if the two teams involved on Sunday night are both out of it, not a good game. You're not doing it just to get a better game in there. That's what you. So that's what I've learned here.
And look, your point about what does CBS have on Sunday afternoon? Like, we're hoping there's a big 425 game. We made the schedule that way. To your point about trying to get the best games into the biggest windows, we still get more eyeballs on a Sunday afternoon at 4:30 than we do on a Sunday night at 8:30. Stands to reason. It gets late on the East Coast on a Sunday night.
Well, I know you wouldn't flex a 425 game into Sunday night. It's really a 1 o'clock game that would get flex most likely.
And it all kind of feeds on itself. What if that 1 o'clock game that we want to grab for prime time, and then we replace it back on the CBS schedule with the Sunday night game? What if that Sunday night game is a West Coast game? That game now comes back into the 425 window where we've already got a good one. And now what have we done to the 1 o'clock regional window for CBS, which we're using as a lead in to the big 425? You're literally taking a rating point or two and you're taking it from one partner and handing it to another partner. That's why it's a tough decision every week, and that's why the guy upstairs makes that decision. And
when you flex, are you only considering playoff implications, playoff possible teams, or do you factor in whether a team is just... I know you can't say this. I can say it. You can't. I'll give you an example. You have a primetime game with the Jets and the Browns. The Jets are a completely unwatchable team. If you're not in New York, you can't sit there for 3 hours and watch that team that scores 6 points every week. But the league, they're not looking at that. They're just looking at, are these teams battling for a playoff spot?
Yeah, look, you mentioned Thursdays. The challenge with Thursday flex is that
the 28-day window.
You got it. Right? So ownership said, look, you guys can have flex as a tool in your toolbox for Thursday Night Football. We all know it's important, the value of that package, the strategic value of the partnership with Amazon. We're trying to do the right thing there, but making that decision 4 weeks out is a tough one. Can any of us say definitively after week 13, here's where the Jets are going to be, here's where the Browns are going to be? I think Thursday flex with that long a runway is going to be tough. And look, I know what you're hinting at. I don't think anybody is, ending the season prematurely, looking at their draft picks. I think every NFL team, how many times have we seen a team with nothing to play for knocking out a team that had everything to play for late in the year?
I'll give you an example that you guys have, and you probably don't want to speak on specifics, but I'll give you an example you guys have. If I'm not mistaken, I did a quick look. You guys have 3 primetime Patriot games left. Now, the Patriots are out of it. They're 2-8. They're not making the playoffs. they're unwatchable because they have no quarterback. When you have no quarterback, it's hard to sit there and watch these teams with no offense. So what I would like to know about that is Bill Belichick, though, is always a story. Mm-hmm. He's one of the most fascinating characters in the league. There's all this speculation about his future. Do you factor those storyline type of things in? You do? Okay.
Yeah. Look, the thing about the Patriots is, you're right. They've got that run of 3 straight primetime games. We've already gone by the window to flex out of the Thursday night game, and obviously Pittsburgh is still relevant. So Patriots-Steelers still, quote-unquote, sounds like a football game.
Chiefs, you're not flexing out.
We're not going to flex the Patriots-Broncos game on Christmas Eve. And then the one in the middle there is that Chiefs game. And you're right. In a vacuum, it would be surprising if ESPN would ask the NFL, hey, we only get 2 Chiefs games and, Super Bowl champs and, league MVP Patrick Mahomes. We'd like to trade that one back. That's unlikely. But then you go look at the Sunday afternoon window and you're wondering, are there games or a game that might be a little underdistributed that isn't going to completely ruin CBS or Fox's afternoon if we took that one? And then to our point from before, you're returning a Kansas City game to whomever is going to lose the game to primetime. It's going to be a very different calculus for CBS and Fox, knowing, I might lose this, but I'll get back Patrick Mahomes. It may not hurt as much to flex one of their games to primetime on Monday night that week. So it all goes into it. It's all part of the discussion. We look at, fan interest. We look at web traffic. We look at fantasy football ownership. We look at the betting markets. We look at hats and jersey sales. It all goes into it, and we make our best guess as to how competitive we think that game's going to be if it stays in prime time and what the viewership might be.
I'm glad you mentioned the betting markets because that hits me. The Week 14 Patriots-Steelers game might set a record for the lowest over-under in NFL history. I mean, it's going to be 30 and under probably. You said, just curious, I know you don't want to get into specifics, but you said like Patriots-Broncos Week 16, you wouldn't flex that. Why?
That's Christmas. I mean, that's a Christmas Eve game. It's on Sunday night. It's on NFL Network. It's not one of the ones that we've identified as a flex candidate. The holiday weekends are a challenge. So unless it's something, that we've discussed all year long, that we've discussed with the clubs, I don't expect any changes to the Week 16 schedule.
I'd love for you to pull back the curtain a little if you can. And obviously you're not going to give me details and specifics. I understand that and would expect it. But I'm just curious, have you had any really good knockout, drag out fights with CBS or I guess it would be with NBC because ESPN, this is their first year having flex. So with NBC about they wanted to flex and the NFL didn't want to flex and how heated it gets?
Yeah, it's not heated because look, at the end of the day, we're having discussions with all of our network partners here in the second half of the season. We still have some pretty big decisions to make, right? We've got wild card scheduling, divisional scheduling. Like, I'm not sure any network really wants to get on, the commissioner's naughty list. So I wouldn't ever say that they're knockdown, drag out. But sure, sometimes they escalate a little bit. Sometimes the ratings projections look wildly different from the partner or from our internal research or from our independent third-party analytics vendor. It's always, I think, productive and constructive. It's very rarely, nasty or knockdown, drag out. And generally speaking, as I think you and I have talked about over the years, this is a zero-sum game, right? Anything that's good for NBC is bad for ESPN. Anything that's good for CBS is bad for Fox. And it's hard to keep everybody satisfied week after week, year after year. All credit to Howard Katz and, before him, Dennis Lewin, Val Pinchbeck. This is a tough putt sometimes.
Yeah.
And every now and then a network's going to be disappointed. Hopefully within the next week or two or month or two or a year or two, it comes back and it evens out.
In terms of this year, there's been no flex yet. Do you see any coming anytime soon? You don't have to tell me when, but do you see something? I will say this. I went through the schedules and you guys, I was going to say you guys got lucky, but you could also say it's your expertise where you really don't have any matchups. I saw one matchup where both teams might be out of it. You have a Seattle-Dallas Thursday night game, which is great for Amazon and Al and that crew. You have the Chiefs a lot, obviously, which helps. You got hurt a little bit with the Burrow injury because they have a game against Jacksonville prime time. The one game I saw on the schedule, Week 14, Sunday night, Green Bay at the Giants. Giants totally out of it. Green Bay probably mathematically still. Oh, that's a Monday night game? My bad.
Yeah, that's a Monday night game. So that's an interesting one. To answer your question, that's one that we are.
Oh, and that's a duel, right?
And look, I would have told you if you and I had talked a week ago,
right?
I would have told you that we sure as heck were, I don't want to say leaning, but strongly considering, the Giants are on Monday night there at MetLife, to move them back to Sunday. Well, the Jets are there, and the Jets are playing Sunday at 1:00 and they're hosting Houston. A week ago, I would have told you, yeah, it's certainly a possibility we might flip those two. Now, of course, Green Bay and the Giants both get W's. Houston is still worthy of some additional national exposure. The Jets have some still. Like, we're still going to see the Jets, whether it's Boyle under center or whether Rodgers comes back. We're going to see them this Friday on Amazon. We're going to see them again on a Thursday night against Cleveland, who's got everything to play for. There was definitely a conversation, still to be a conversation about should we flip the Giants and the Jets games on Monday night of week 14. We're going to do a Monday night flex someday. It's going to happen. I'm not sure doing it in week 14 into a side-by-side where I'm not sure we recognize the true value of it. Plus you'd be flexing into a Houston Jets, same window as Tennessee, Miami. You've already got the AFC South, AFC East, interest kind of covered. I'm not sure we do it, but the Texans have played their way in the national television. We're looking for an opportunity to expose them to more.
CJ Stroud, especially.
CJ Stroud's a great story. Who saw him coming in May, right?
Great story. What was the ultimate decision on why you didn't do the Giant-Jet swap?
We haven't done it yet. 2 weeks out for Monday Night Football. So we'll decide after this weekend. That decision is still to be made.
Okay. Because I do think the country would like to see CJ Stroud. See, like that's what I was trying to hint at earlier. Yep. Take out Giants, take out Packers, take out Jets, take that out. Those four teams, people want to see CJ Stroud more than anything else, I would think, as an NFL fan.
Look, a week ago, I would have agreed with you. Now, given what Green Bay did last night, they're going to be playing on Thanksgiving in Detroit. Detroit had their hands full with Chicago. What if Green Bay is on a bit of a winning streak? The Giants just won a game. Who knows if Packers-Giants isn't the game that maybe projects to do a little bit better for Disney, for ESPN or ABC, depending on where that game is played. The Texans have played their way in the national television. There's no question about it. We'll find ways for our fans to see CJ Stroud more between now and the end of the season. It may not be that Monday night.
So basically, I think when the Lions beat the Packers, you'll make the decision to give us CJ Stroud that day. Okay. Yeah. And then the rest of I looked at the rest. You like I said, the Chiefs a bunch of times, Baltimore, KC, you have, solid teams. Got hurt a little bit, Bengals twice, but nothing you can do about that. Detroit, Dallas late in the week should be great. So schedule you get hurt by Aaron Rodgers. I said to you in the offseason when I had you on, I said the one thing I never understood with the league is the fascination for always putting the Raiders in prime time. And now they had a terrible season and fired their coach. So no Raiders next year. That's what my only request. So, and I apologize because I trashed the Jets and you have the Jets on Black Friday. I shouldn't have done that. That wasn't nice. But I said this before. I'm taking full credit for the Black Friday game because I tweeted 3 years ago the NFL needs a Black Friday game. So I feel like this is my bait. I said it should have been a 9:00 London game, but you got it done. Friday, Amazon. What's very important for everyone to know listening to this, you don't need Amazon Prime to watch the game. They're giving it to anyone who, even if you don't have an Amazon Prime subscription. 3:00, Jets, Dolphins. Well, let me ask you this. I know there was talk when the game was created about like maybe the Jets wanted it every year or another team volunteered to have it every year. Or is this going to be a rotation Black Friday?
I would expect so. It's not up to me, but I would expect we'll treat it like we treat Thanksgiving night. Obviously, Detroit and Dallas have, 50 and 80 years of history hosting on Thanksgiving. We've been rotating the Thursday night Thanksgiving game around. I suspect we're going to rotate the Friday game around. It's not up to me. We'll learn something this year. For year one, it felt like, having the game on the retail leader, Amazon's, services, and New York, the retail capital of the world. It felt like there was some good synergy there. Obviously, we thought Aaron Rodgers might be playing quarterback. And, I think Amazon might have a presence at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade the day before. It'll be a learning experience for all of us. Certainly, if the Jets get a win and it's a fantastic experience for them and their fans, and everybody watches it, I'm sure they'll raise their hands again for next year. But yeah, there were definitely others who had volunteered. We canvass the clubs every year, March, April, May. How would you feel about hosting on the holidays, Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Christmas, New Year's? Most clubs say, do what's best for the schedule, do what's best for our schedule. There are some that are hesitant to host on holidays, don't want to do that to their fans, to their staff. But I think over time, most clubs will find themselves in those windows. I expect us to rotate the host sites around for Thanksgiving night and for Black Friday.
What ultimately is the NFL and Amazon looking for on Friday with Jets Dolphins? Is it just what's the number? What's the rating? What are we looking for?
Yeah, look, part of it, of course, is viewership. That's the game that we're in here, and that's what we're trying to do. Our fans tell us every time they turn on the television what matters to them, whether it's the 9:30 a.m. games, like you mentioned, or the holiday games. I thought last year, I think you and I talked about this in May, I thought last year the most impressive viewership number of all the games that we had last year might have been the Christmas game between Denver and the Rams, two teams that were mathematically eliminated, still did 28 million viewers. So our fans are telling us they'll watch on holidays. They'll, cook dinner a little later or talk to grandma before the game, whatever it is.
It's all about getting away from your family.
That's to some. How about sharing with your family? I think what we're going to learn is, fans will tell us if they're interested. Yeah. And also Amazon will tell us, what kind of engagement did they get on their platform? How many more people did they get to Amazon.com who maybe weren't Prime members and maybe they sign up while they're here? We'll see how the Jets react. We'll see how the fans react. We'll see how the weather cooperates. And I'm sure based on that, we'll see other clubs next year kind of raise their hands and say, hey, we'd be interested if the opportunity presents itself.
And again, everyone should know, if you don't have Prime, you will still be able to watch Jets Dolphins on Friday. It's at 3:00, Amazon Prime. Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit. I think I kid around about, it was my idea, but it really is, I think, the perfect day for an NFL game, because when I tweeted about it 3 years ago and I said it should be a London game, I wasn't thinking about the travel aspect at the time, but I just know you wake up the day after. This is me. I wake up the day after Thanksgiving, and there was always college, a full day of college, which would start at noon. That's why my idea was a 9:00 London game. But I think, Black Friday's gotten this thing where people don't want to go shopping. I think that's such a day where people are indoors because Black Friday's gotten so out of control. People don't want to go to the store. You've been out all week. You were out obviously on Thursday, or you're hosting a lot of people on Thursday. You're going to eat your leftovers on Friday. What's better than an NFL game? Well, let me ask you this. Why 3:00? What was the deciding factor in that start time?
There's a couple things. The first one is, like you mentioned, Friday nights, Saturdays until mid-December. The NFL stays out of those windows traditionally. Those are high school and college windows. We've certainly wandered into some new windows, whether it's the 9:30 a.m. games or the Christmas triple headers or stuff like that. But we generally stay out of Friday nights and Saturdays until mid-December. So we wanted to stay off of Friday night. It's not a great television viewing night as well. So as far as Amazon's concerned, that wasn't really what they were looking for. Noon felt a little too early. Plus, it ends up chopping off half the teams in the league as far as potential host sites. If you're going to play that early, can't play out west, maybe could play Central Time Zone. I know some of the colleges are playing 11 a.m. local. I don't think we've done that in a while. So 3:00 kind of feels right in the middle. You can, like you said, have your noon college game. I know there's primetime college games that night. Kind of leaves a window for us kind of in the middle, 3:00. Like you said, you want to get your shopping done. You could get out early and you could then watch the NFL and still have your dinner plans with your family if you wanted to. And maybe you're right. People don't treat it like the retail holiday that it used to be. Fans lining up outside the, Walmart trying to get in at 6 a.m. I don't know that
ready to get trampled for a TV.
Yeah, exactly. So stay home, shop online, shop on Amazon. And while you're there, watch the game at 3:00.
Talk to me a little bit about Saturday, December 23rd. It's a Saturday. There's two games. You have 4:30. You have the Bengals and Steelers. And then you have Bills Chargers, which is a Peacock only night, Peacock only game. Are either of those, I'm not saying you would, but if you wanted to, are either of those games eligible for a flex or not because they're standalone national games
Yeah,
on a
look,
Saturday?
I don't think we would change either one anyway, but no, those are not
Okay.
flexible scheduling
Got it.
eligible.
Got it.
And look,
And
that's with an eye. I think you know this. This is with an eye
yeah,
towards Wild Card Weekend. NBC, had the exclusive Peacock game this year. The ESPN Plus window, some NFL Network windows. Those 9:30 a.m. London and Germany games this year. Peacock was looking for something a little different, and they asked us, "Is there anything else we could do?" Once they came in for Wild Card Weekend, and we were talking about doing big NBC Saturday of Wild Card Weekend into Peacock Saturday night of Wild Card Weekend, they came to us and said, "Hey, how about 3 weeks prior, a little dry run? Let the fans get used to it. Make sure everybody knows." And so we're going to do a big NBC Saturday afternoon into Peacock week 16, and then come back and run it back again on Wild Card Weekend. And again, trying to split the difference, find the right games that, like you said, we're not going to flex. So you're looking for teams you think are going to be relevant, or games you think are going to matter, teams you think are going to be in playoff positioning, trying to guess that in May for a Saturday afternoon in week 16 is a
right.
The crystal ball is as clear as we could hope. Obviously, the Burrow injury hurts, but Bengals Steelers still sounds like a game that's going to be relevant in the AFC North. And then Bills Chargers there on Peacock sounds like a fun first foray into that streaming service. Should be a good one with hopefully playoff implications for both.
This is probably completely unrealistic, but has there ever been a thought of not scheduling schedule the games, but not schedule times and networks when you make the schedule in May for like past week 8, say, and then you can plug in what you want and do all that. Has that ever been discussed?
The schedule maker in me loves that idea. Let's publish the first 8 weeks, and then maybe on a rolling basis, 3 or 4 or 5 weeks out, just start rolling out the rest of the schedule. As you can imagine, the logistics there from a travel standpoint, international games, holiday games, gets very challenging. We're unique. I think we are, when you think about some of the other sports, we have so few games. Right? Everyone matters, and fans plan around these games. We see it every year in May when the schedule comes out, how quickly the tickets get bought, the flights get bought, the hotels get booked. To ask fans to put all of that on hold and just react to us 4 weeks out, 5 weeks out on a rolling basis would be challenged. Never say never.
What do you think?
I think it would be tough.
What do you think the teams would think of that?
Look, I think the commissioner would say that 2020, that COVID season, kind of proved that the NFL clubs are incredibly adept at handling curveballs. They are incredibly flexible. They can make just about anything work. I think the guy in charge of selling tickets would really press us on, hey, how am I supposed to sell these last 4 home games when you won't even tell me when they are? Forget whether or not they're in prime time or not. I don't even know what week they are. And then, I know you don't speak highly of the Jets right now, but remember when the schedule came out, that Jets at Vegas game was a big deal. I heard from an awful lot of Jets fans. That was the one game they had circled on their schedule so that they could book flights, book a weekend.
Oh, because people want to go to Vegas. Okay, I got it.
Game was still in our hands when the schedule came out, and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting. When are we going to play it? When are we going to play it? And then did we wait too long to deploy it? And by the time we did, somebody's out of it, and now they're not going to take the trip. I think it would be really hard for us to completely just TBD the whole second half of the schedule, but we're inching toward it. You mentioned the Saturday pools. We've got 10 teams that don't know if they're playing Saturday or Sunday or Monday, really, in week 16 right now, in week 15, sorry. And we've got flex down the stretch there where we might be making decisions only 1 week out to be sure we have the right playoff implications in mind as we populate the national television window. So everybody's adjusting. Look, 5-10 years ago, nobody would have thought we gotten this far, but now every sport does it, right? Baseball does it. College football does it. Everything is TBD, but you usually know the weekend. I think that's probably about as far as we could go. It's this weekend, but dates and times to be.
And the different sports is apples and oranges. I mean, the baseball, it could be 8:00 at night and you don't know until that game's over what time you play in the next day, which is, you can't do that in the NFL, obviously. Oh, there was something I wanted to follow up on when you were talking. Oh, yeah, maybe you just TBD. Like you start out by TBD in the last 4 weeks. Maybe instead of the
Yeah.
there's
I mean,
probably a
look,
way
you've
to do.
seen it, right? Week
Yeah,
18 is now completely TBD.
right,
You've got
right.
a handful of games that are TBD in week 15. Christmas is always
Yeah.
going to play a role in what you can TBD. But when Christmas goes back to Tuesday and Wednesday, yeah, I would not be surprised to see a few more TBDs. I'm just not sure we're ever going to get to where, you and I are pie in the sky wondering,
Yeah.
could you just only release half the schedule and then
Right.
release the other half in October? It would be fun as a schedule maker. I like our chances better in October than May, but like you said, whether it's luck or history, most of
Right.
the national windows down the stretch seem to have the right teams, the right brands, the right records, the right playoff implications. Let's hope it all plays out, the way we hoped.
Has the league ever once had a conversation about not having the Lions on Thanksgiving, or is that like a non-starter and they'll always be on Thanksgiving? Because I'm not going to ask you about the Cowboys because
No,
you can put the Cowboys.
It's certainly been a conversation. The answer is yes. It has certainly been a conversation. Like we said, we don't have that many, historical traditional things in this league. The fact that the Lions have been playing there since the 30s is probably something that's here to stay. Yes, they had some lean years there, and I do remember ownership discussions. And I believe it was Mr. Ford literally went on the floor and said, recognize our record maybe doesn't warrant this, but this is so important to our team, to our city. It's tradition. And look, they're obviously now going to be probably one of the highest rated, most watched Thanksgiving games they've ever had this year. So these things tend to balance out. It's all cyclical, but yes, there were conversations. There was also conversations. Okay, you could still stay on Thanksgiving, but maybe rotate the windows around. Maybe Dallas, Detroit, NX, but move around from CBS to Fox to NBC. NFL Network was in there for a minute. Those discussions have all taken place. I'm sure they'll take place again, but certainly when the Lions are this good, there's certainly not any kind of groundswell to move them off of what's going to be a 35 million people watching on Thanksgiving.
Touched on it a bit earlier before we wrap. I mean, there's really nothing. I mean, listen, it's the NFL. And when you have the NFL, no matter what happens, you're going to have injuries. We mentioned Rodgers, we mentioned Burrow. We have the Niners playing the Seahawks Thanksgiving night. Geno Smith gets banged up. How frustrated do you guys get in the league office when you see when there's listen, I don't want to sound callous. There's an injury, there's a player here, there's a person, there's a human being. But how quick does your mind go to like, we have that in prime time on week 14, or we have that in 425 week 15? Is it always right in your head when how quick does it go from this guy's hurt to, oh my God, here we go?
Always. I mean, look, you said it. Injuries are part of sports.
Yep.
But so too is, next man up, and the good teams overcome challenges. And if, one injury knocks you off your stride and ruins your season, maybe you weren't that good to begin with. I don't know. It's always something that we're wary of. But generally speaking, the good teams overcome challenges, and, the teams that are still in it with a backup quarterback become a story unto themselves, right? Look at what's going on with Dobbs in Minnesota. Tyson Bagent was a fun story for a couple of weeks. There's always somebody, and these kids all played somewhere and know the game. And, Cincinnati's not going to phone it in here. They're going to play hard right through the end. It hurts a little bit when you think about a game like Bengals Chiefs. That was, probably game of the year type stuff when we built the schedule back in April. And certainly David Burson at CBS would tell you that was one of the most anticipated games on their schedule.
Yeah.
For that game now to, lose some of its luster is frustrating, but that's the beauty of this league. If Cincinnati and Kansas City isn't what we thought it was going to be, then there's another game that weekend. Maybe it's Miami-Baltimore. And instead of Cincy-KC being the 425 anchor, maybe that game moves back to 1. Miami-Baltimore takes the national doubleheader slot, and 30 million people get to watch that game. That one may have, significant playoff implications.
I feel like the Burrow one's a double whammy because it hurts the Bengals, and I feel like he's one of those guys people want to watch. I think people tune in for Burrow. That one hurt. I love Joe Burrow, so that one bummed me out tremendously because he's one of my favorite players to watch.
Look, that one hurt. I mean, Justin Fields hurt when he went down. You saw him come back yesterday and play really, really well. There are guys that just move the needle that people know, but every team in the league is susceptible. I mean, I'm not sure there's a whole lot of teams out there that would feel really, really good rolling out their second string quarterback. Any of the big names go down, there's going to be an impact. Yeah, it's part of sports. It happens.
So a minute before we started taping this, the Jets announced they were benching Zach Wilson and they were going to start Tim Boyle. And of course, it's the big, NFL and Amazon are going all out for this game on Friday. Dolphins Jets at 3:00 on Amazon. If you don't have Prime, you still get the game. When you see that, is your thought this could be good because the curiosity factor, like so many people are going to want to see now, is Tim Boyle better than Zach Wilson, or can he score more points than Zach Wilson? Is he more serviceable than Zach? Is that like, do you guys think about that, or that's not really in your head?
Yeah, look, I think anything that makes the fans interested in watching is a good thing. Look, I watched Zach Wilson play in college, and the guy was a stud. I mean, you can go back on YouTube and watch his highlights from not that long ago, right? Just a couple of years ago. He was big man on campus, and he played with swagger. I think he still can play. What do I know? I'm not a GM, but look, I was going to watch anyway. I hope most fans were going to watch anyway. But if anybody like you was perhaps a little down on the Jets and maybe, I'm not going to watch any more of this, and now they've made the change, yeah, hopefully it gets you to your television or your computer, and hopefully they play a good game and it's close. A one-score game in the fourth quarter is all the schedule makers are looking for when the games start. So
that leads me right into my final question, because I trashed the Jets, but I'm going to watch every minute of that game. I am one of these people. I've said this before. I will watch any NFL game at any time, at any network. I just realized I said this was going to be, I just realized we didn't even talk about Sunday Ticket. I've done nothing but praise Sunday Ticket all year long. I cannot believe how much better it is on YouTube than DirecTV. The presentation of it. I went crazy about this the first week. DirecTV wasted so much space on their screen. The presentation on YouTube is tremendous. I know there was only 1 week where there was some technical difficulties. I would imagine the NFL has to be thrilled with.
Do they let you pick the games for the multi-boxes yet? Or
not yet. That's the battle we're fighting. Well, I will say this. In fairness, I think they're going to do it that next year, because what happened was the first week they didn't put up the multi-view options until about 12:55, and I went ballistic. I said, these need to be up by 12:30 because you have to get the TVs ready. The next week, 11:30. The next week, like 11 a.m., they were all ready to go. So it was perfect.
Hey, they're listening.
I will say this in defense of YouTube, because that's the only complaint I ever see is people want to pick the multi-view games. They offer every single combination there is. Every combination is offered. Now, you can be a real sicko like me, and you want a certain game in top left, certain game in top right. I don't know if we'll get there. That would be the ultimate. But outside of pick your multi-view, I have not heard one complaint about YouTube.
Yeah, with you. They had the 1 week with some buffering issues, but for the most part, I think they've proven that they're a viable outlet, and I think most fans are pretty happy with it. And not having to mount a dish on your house, I'm sure eases one of the barriers to entry. I think everybody is very happy with them in year one. Yes,
I could give you one more complaint, but this is really just to. So I have Verizon Fios. On Verizon Fios, there is a YouTube channel. Like, they give you Netflix and YouTube as channels.
Okay.
I cannot, though, do the multi-view
if you go
with that. I have to do it through Apple TV or my Amazon Fire Stick. So if we get that changed, I'll put that on the list. So what I was going to say is, I have said before, I will watch any NFL game at any time on any network. Do you have a gauge of what percentage of NFL fans have that mentality?
I don't. I imagine our research team does. I guess the answer would be, let's find a game that's, in a national window that isn't as good as we'd hoped all the way back in May, and let's see what kind of viewership we still get for that. I mean, we talk about flexible scheduling, and we talk about, if you just leave the game where it is versus is there a ceiling if you flex into something. We always talk about, is there a floor? Like, we don't ever want our worst product on a national window, but sometimes it doesn't always go your way. How many people would watch, to your point, a game in a national window without a whole lot of playoff implications, or one that kind of drifts away from being competitive. I think we've been watching this the last couple of weeks, honestly. We had we had Dallas Giants as the doubleheader game, the 4:25 game, and I think it was 21-0 in the first quarter, and got to be about 42-7 maybe in the third quarter. And so we were wondering, should Fox take audience away from that Dallas Giants game and look at the Washington-Seattle game, which was in the window, which was close? It wasn't a spectacular game, but it was close. Right. And we were talking about, should we be moving those viewers from this Dallas Giants game over to Washington-Seattle and catch the end? They did finally at the end. I think they caught the last two drives and saw the end of a really exciting game, as opposed to staying with the end of a game that was a 40-point game. But we went back and looked at the ratings. We went back and looked at the viewership. And for whatever reason, fans weren't really tuning out of the Giants. Maybe they were watching to see if the quarterback was going to get better. Maybe they were watching to see if the Cowboys were going to get to 600 total yards, or CeeDee Lamb was going to get 3 straight games with 150 and a touchdown, whatever it was. It wasn't like the fans were tuning out. So they'll stay, they'll watch the big brands in a blowout. When we watch two of the lesser known teams playing in a national window and still getting 10, 12, 15, 18 million people, that's probably your floor. And that's probably where we are.
Everybody knows if the NFL wants a rating, the best rating is going to be Cowboys. Who would be second right now?
Kansas City.
Okay. And
honestly,
I hate to even bring this up, but that has nothing to do with Taylor Swift, right?
Look, there's no downside to people talking about Taylor Swift. And we've talked about this a lot in this building. I'm not sure that we're suddenly doing millions and millions of more people watching, hoping to catch a glimpse of her reaction to a touchdown. But if any teenage girls are tuning in and watching the NFL now, hoping to see Taylor Swift, they're seeing other stuff too. They're seeing women coaches. They're seeing women officials. They're seeing themselves on television. And maybe those are the kind of things that help a little girl become a fan. And now she's watching with dad. And now you're talking about 20 years of fanhood, as opposed to somebody who may never have been exposed to it otherwise and wouldn't have cared until she saw that coach or that official. And hey, there's another girl on TV. It's very different than, it was not that long ago. So you're giving
life.
I love that she's bringing more people to the television.
You're giving life to the conspiracy theory that her and the NFL are working together, and this is all a marketing plan.
We could partner with her all day, every day, and be pretty happy with it. She's great.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I'm looking forward to a Giant Jets flex coming up soon as Green Bay loses. And this was great because I think this clears up a lot of stuff now that I can go back and tell people. When I get bothered on Twitter about why didn't they flex, and so now we got it all. So I appreciate it.
It's your job, and it's the fans' job to challenge us. I know everybody says, "Oh, don't read the internet comments," but we read the internet comments. Those are the fans, and that's where you learn sometimes what you can be doing better. These guys are idiots comments, have to go over in this pile. But the ones where hey, here's how I do it, or here's what I'd like to see, or have you thought about this? That's where ideas come from. And I'm not giving you all the credit for Black Friday, but others had the same idea. Let's see how it works, and always want you and your listeners and readers to know the truth. You may not agree with everything we decide, but at least you'll know how we got there.
No, I appreciate it, and I'm thrilled Black Friday is happening. Like I said, I've been banging that drum, so appreciate it. And we'll talk to you. I guess we'll talk to you next season when the schedule comes out for
Anytime,
sure.
Jimmy. Always a pleasure.
Right. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate it. All right, joining me now, as he does every week, for our weekly Traina Thoughts segment from WFAN Radio in New York, SNY TV in New York. Big Thanksgiving week. Can't wait to get into it with my buddy Sal Licata. Sal, how are we?
I cannot believe it is Thanksgiving week, but I'm excited about it. What's going on?
Well, so I texted Sal Saturday, because everyone wants to know what's going on with Sal in the house. So I texted Sal, did you get the house? He said, no, wait till I tell you the story. And I didn't want the story on text. Figured let's get it on the pod, get my honest reaction. And then we'll talk about when I texted Sal on Sunday and he was going nuts because the dope bet the Jets. But let's talk about the house first.
So I'm not going to get into specific details on where or how much, but I'm sure you're aware the housing market is challenging, to say the least, right now, right?
Right.
So we finally found something that we love. Both my wife and I loved. We put in an offer $200,000 over the asking price. Okay, so it doesn't matter what the house is.
But why? Because you had to do that?
Because it was the agent that we were with. It was at his request, thinking like, look, if you want this house, this is probably
got it.
He actually said whatever. He said whatever your best offer is, that's what I would do for this house.
Right. You didn't feel like just pissing away $200,000. Someone told you to do that.
Yeah, he said to get this house realistically, it was listed low, which happens. They gave
got it.
$5.
Got it. Okay.
So doesn't matter what the number is, but just know it was $200,000 over the fucking asking price. Right. We did not get it.
Meaning someone bid more than $200,000.
Correct. I don't know how much more. See, I was told we were closed. All that.
Here's what offends me. What offends me about this is the games. Right. Why do we have to play games? Why can't the price just be what the price is? You pay the price, you get. Why does everything have to be a goddamn game?
It is a game, and this is the worst game, supply and demand. So whatever they list it at, even though they know it's low, they get more people in, and then people start to go up. So then they do this thing where they say, okay, best and final offer by Tuesday. So it's not even like, oh, somebody came in at such and such, here's what you need to go to if you want it. It's blind best and final offer, whatever your best shot is. Now, there was a chance that we were 100,000 over the next person. I don't know. Right. Like who's to say that 100,000 over ask wouldn't have been enough?
Right.
We got an idea based on what our agent said and based on the houses that we've seen. Like, you got an idea. But I'm thinking, okay, it might be 100 over, maybe a little bit more than 100 over, 200 over, like pretty safe to assume.
Do you think these people who got the house bid 300 over?
I don't know. I wouldn't say that much.
Right.
Then there's other things like you got to get to the praise, right? It can't just be a blind.
Right, of course.
So we waived even some of that, which is like, because you want to make your offer strong. You want to waive potentially some inspection, which is not smart to do, but in the housing market now, like that's something that you do. All that shit, and we still didn't get it, which is unbelievable.
You'd waive the inspection. There'd be black mold everywhere. Don't skip on that.
Yeah. No.
So where do we stay now? Do we keep looking through the holidays? Do we wait till after the holiday? I mean, you're not going to go this weekend, are you? Thanksgiving weekend?
Great question. I don't know. I think it's TBD. I cannot go the following week because I have a work thing on Saturday and Sunday. So if there is something that needs to be seen this Saturday, probably will make the trip. Yeah.
Sucks. Well, it's horrible. That's a bummer. I feel bad because I know you wanted that house. I know you liked that one. You wanted that one. Yeah, that's.
And I'm not one of these everything happens for a reason type people.
Oh yeah, please.
Yeah, I know, but like we were maxed out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Wouldn't have been pleasant.
Right.
But I see what you're saying. Would have been worth it for that particular house. That's it. We're not doing it all the time. That was one to do.
What's your work schedule this week? You doing a show Wednesday and you doing a show Friday?
I am going to do TV only Monday and Tuesday, and I am going to do radio.
Wait. Today's Monday.
Right. So TV.
You did a show on
tomorrow.
The Fan. You did a show on the Fan today. So
yes.
So Tuesday, what are you doing tomorrow?
Same thing. I'll be 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. all week except for Thursday.
That's what I wanted. So Friday, 10 to 2, you're working.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
I think from home that day, not sure. We got in this thing where we're like, oh, it's going to be a big game. Jets, Dolphins, Black Friday. So we might as well work. And now I'm like, what a fucking idiot. I should have just taken off. I don't want to work that day.
Well, I want to hear about your commute on Black Friday.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I might be from home. I can't. I'll work. I don't think I'm going into work to do just the radio. Is it going to be bad? You think Black Friday is bad or no for traffic?
I don't know. I'm just busting your chops. But is there anything, my niece over the weekend, my little niece, she goes, Alexis, she says she wants to go to the stores on Black Friday at 6 a.m. And I said, you out of your mind? Is there anything that could ever make you go to a store on Black Friday?
Yeah, my daughter.
Oh, really? You wouldn't talk her out of it?
Well, when she gets older, I mean, could I? Yes. But if she really wanted me to go, that's it. And that's like...
I'm saying if Best Buy was selling a 75-inch TV for $50 on Friday, but you had to be there at 7 a.m, would you go?
There's no chance.
Okay.
No.
That's what
I don't care. I'll pay the full price not to go.
Right.
I don't want any discounts. I think it's all bullshit anyway. I'll pass on your Black Friday deals. Thank you.
So speaking of Black Friday and the Jet Dolphin game on Amazon, so a lot of networks.
I think, by the way, we might be involved in the Open for that.
What do you mean involved in the? Oh! Screaming and yelling about the Jets.
I don't know. They came today. NFL Films, I think, came today and filmed like the first half hour of the show. So keep your eyes peeled for that one.
Oh, that's a good. Now I got to tune in early for that. So the game's on Amazon, and what Fox and Amazon do this. ESPN, I'm trying to think if they do it. I don't know if they do it, but a lot of times they send stuff to people in the media as a way to like promote it. I don't know if I said this on the pod, but when Fox had the World Series this year, they sent me a signed baseball from Burkhardt, Ortiz, A-Rod, and Jeter.
Awesome.
No, not awesome. I don't want anything signed by David Ortiz and A-Rod.
Oh, forgot.
So now Amazon, to promote the Black Friday game with the Jets and the Dolphins, they send me a bobblehead of myself. But look how gray it is.
So cool.
But look how gray it is. I mean, come on. This is not even like,
dude.
I'm showing this on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, I'm sorry, but go to the YouTube. The whole thing. I have a lot of gray, but I'm not completely gray. Look at this.
Of all the stuff you've gotten over the years, and you've gotten a lot of cool stuff, that is the coolest thing ever. They created your own bobblehead. I think it looks pretty good, actually. Accurate.
I'm going to write on it with black marker on top, and then maybe I'll get into it a little more.
You got to dye the bobblehead. It looks great.
I got to dye my own head. Then I'll dye the bobblehead. It's ridiculous. The gray. The gray. I don't mind. Listen, the gray hair, it is what it is. When I see the gray hair and the eyebrows, I want to vomit.
Yeah.
This is the stuff they don't teach you in school. That when you turn 40, you start getting gray hair in your eyebrows, hair's coming out of your ears, hair's coming out of your nose. It's disgusting.
And now I can't see. I can't even see shit anymore to see if there's hair coming out. My eyes are shot. So
let me tell you something. Hanging out with you, it's not as fun as it used to be because of this sight thing. You can't see shit. You're blind as a bat.
I know.
You won't fix it.
I actually have to get, like you're talking about when we go out to eat, looking at the menu.
Yeah, but you're worse than my dad's 80 and you can't see the menu. You're struggling. What's this? What's that?
I used to have perfect eyesight, and now I can't see. I really can't see shit anymore. It's sad, depressing.
When I was having all my back troubles the last few months, when I went to the doctor at one point, the doctor said to me, "Once you hit 40, everything's going to fall apart." Yeah. I mean, I'm over 40, so I got lucky, but you had perfect eyesight, and now you can't see a menu.
And you know what's funny? People, when they get to 40 and they hear that, like, everything's going to fall apart, what's the first things guys think of? Oh, don't want to lose my, libido or whatever it may be. I'll tell you, I don't give a shit about that. I trade that to have my eyesight back. Let everything below the waist not work. I mean, I need to walk, but you know what I'm talking about. I need my eyes back.
We know what clip I'm cutting for Twitter and YouTube.
I need my eyes. I don't need that anymore. I've been married for 8 years.
But that's an absurd statement on your part because you can get your eyes fixed. You have cataracts. All you have to do, every single person, like old person I know, my dad, they all had cataract surgery. Why don't you just go get the cataract surgery?
Yeah, I'm afraid to do it. The thought of somebody cutting my eyes like that.
Cataract surgery is like one of the most common things that, do you know how many millions? Like, it's not like you get an open, like it's a common thing that people do.
I need to get it done. I do. I have to get it done.
Next time we go out to dinner, I'm going to film you looking at the menu.
I can't see.
Speaking of the menu, give me the before we wrap, give me the roster of food on Thanksgiving.
Traditional turkey, rice balls is our big thing. Stuffing,
rice balls with the meal or before?
Usually before and after. That's like my favorite thing.
Do you do a pasta?
No, I don't believe so.
Years ago, we used to do pasta before the turkey.
What kind? No sauce or sauce?
Sauce, of course. What do you mean?
Well, I didn't know what kind of pasta we're talking about here. Like we talk.
No, red sauce.
Okay, yeah. We don't do any red sauce on Thanksgiving.
Right.
I don't know why, but we just don't.
So tell me everything you have before you have like the turkey and the stuffing and the mashed potatoes. Rice balls, what else?
Antipasta, obviously. All that is out. We actually have, because my wife is Indian, we have samosas. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
I know what they are. Yeah.
Yeah, they're delicious. So we've added that as a big app. The rice balls are an app. My sister makes a bunch of stuff that I honestly, dude, year to year, like I forget. But the main staples have always been rice balls, stuffing, antipasto, whatever. Yeah.
So the eyes are going and the memory is going.
Yeah, I don't. It's been a while. I don't cook it. I just eat it. So.
And then, so turkey, stuffing, mashed. What other sides? Do you do a mac and cheese?
Yes, my sister does. I don't know if she's going to do it again because we're trying to cut down. The problem is, like, you used to do it for a certain size family, and I don't know about you, but our family, even though people kept dropping off, dying, we kept doing the same amount of food. And I'm like, Ma, and my sister, like, you don't need to do all this. Cut half of it out, it will still be good. Like, I'm tired of wasting all this food. So I'm not sure. I think that's a floater dish.
It's an Italian thing because we have the same exact thing with my mother for Christmas Eve. She makes food for 5,000 people. We're not 5,000 people anymore.
Right.
And then she screams, that she does it so people can have leftovers and bring everything home. So basically, Christmas Eve is now like a takeout service at my parents' house. It's ridiculous.
Right. They make the same amount of food. I'm assuming your mom falls in this category. The same food that, like, my grandparents made to serve 30. Right. They're using that same recipe and same amount to serve 10. Like, come on.
That's what my mother does. And my aunt, so on Thanksgiving, we go to my aunt's every year. And she makes the turkey and she makes a ham, which I don't like ham. But she used to also, this is how gluttonous she would also make a roast beef. Then my uncle had a stroke and told her to cut out the roast beef. So it's just turkey and ham. She's make turkey, ham, and roast beef. Because my aunt has this thing. It's if someone wants something and it's not there, it like gives her an anxiety attack.
Right. See, I'm the same way. I have that, and my wife gets, like, if I'm having you guys over, I'll order 3 pies, even though we need 1, maybe 1.5, because I want variety in case you don't like regular, you want meat, but whatever. I think that's just, I don't know if it's an Italian thing or what, but it
wasn't until when you get to college and you get like your real friends and you have like adult dinners and you go to someone's house, and I realized, like I'd go to someone's house and they'd be like, how many hamburgers do you want? And I'd be like, I don't know. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 2. But you go to my family, they're making 700 hamburgers for 6 people. Like, it's just it's absurd.
It is so true. Now, how is your football watching going to be?
Well, I go right at 12. I get to my aunt's at 12:30. I go right into her den on the Barca Lounger, and the only time I come out is to go eat, and then I go back in, and then I leave right when the 4:00 game ends. So I'm home for the night game.
Was it last Thanksgiving where you had Nance give you the shout out?
Yeah. That was last Thanksgiving.
Oh, that was so fucking good.
Yeah, that was fun.
So good. Yeah,
that was fun. Speaking of my family, my dad Sunday, I almost lost it. I really almost lost it Sunday. Okay, so my dad's had a lot of health problems in recent years. A lot of stuff with the heart. He's had all these things, stents and anyway. So he had an episode over the summer, maybe spring, where he had fainted, and he fainted because he had very, very low blood pressure. So they got all that fixed. Everything's good. He's been great. But ever since then, every morning, this guy texts me his blood pressure. Because I guess if it's low, he wants me to go rescue him, and because it's not supposed to be below 60. Every morning I get a text with the blood pressure. So now when he texts me that, and if I need to get in touch with him about something or communicate with him about something that's going on with the family or whatever, I will immediately text him back when he sends me that text in the morning. But for like 3 weeks, he doesn't write back or respond. Now, I know he's deaf and he can't hear the phone when it bangs. And a lot of times, like, I'll be in the car with my dad. His phone's beeping. I'm like, Dad, you're getting a text. I don't care. I don't want to be bothered. So I don't know what it is. Sunday, he texts me. I write back, I'm coming over in a little while. No response. Whatever. So now I go there. I'm like, I don't understand why you don't respond to my text. He's like, I don't know. I didn't get a text. I go, let me see your phone. The MFer had it on Do Not Disturb and didn't even know. And he's going, I didn't know. I don't know how to do that. How did that happen? I don't know. I didn't do it. So I go, look, You don't see here on your phone, you have 78 unread text messages. You have 7 missed calls. I didn't know. The problem is this. He's 80. He should not have an iPhone. You should not be allowed to have an iPhone when you're that age. Because what's the point? The phone's on do not. It might have been on do not disturb for 3-4 weeks. 78 unread text messages.
You go to call him, he's not picking up. He just has no idea, and he didn't think anybody was trying to reach out to him either.
But he didn't even see the 78 unread text messages. What are you doing? But then 3 weeks ago, he calls me. I have a big problem. I go, what's the matter? I think he's dying. Facebook isn't working on my phone.
Oh my
I'm like,
God.
all right, well, the next time I see you, I said, I don't use Facebook. I don't respect anyone who uses Facebook, but I'll look at it next time I see you. He goes, should I go to the Verizon store? I'm like, yeah, go to the Verizon store. Tell them your Facebook's not working. Go ahead, do that.
Oh my God.
I can't.
Oh
I
my
can't.
God.
I can't. I want it.
That's brutal.
I want to destroy his iPhone and just give him a flip phone. That's what I want.
Could you do that? Why don't you do that?
Because he wants the iPhone because everybody has an iPhone. Like, that's the whole spiel. All right. I had to get that out of my system. Sal, happy Thanksgiving from me and my bobblehead.
I love that bobblehead.
We'll see you next week.
All right.
Do we go? Forget that. Hold on. Before we go, we got to do this real quick.
Yeah.
All right. Lions -7.5 against the Packers. What will you bet? Total 46.5.
I am going to do my traditional Turkey Day teaser and my initial.
God. You don't want to make money, right? You just want to lose money. You bet the Jets. You bet teasers. You don't like winning money. Okay.
I am going to probably tease that down with the. I'm going to tease the Lions down.
Okay. There's the Cowboys are -10.5 against the Commanders. Total 48.5, and the Niners are -7 against the Seahawks. Total 43.5. I don't know if we know yet about Geno Smith, but that's what's going on.
I would probably, I'm not going to tease all the favorites down, am I? But right now, that would be my normal instinct. I'm going to bet those games, and I'm going to have fun doing so. But I always do a Turkey Day teaser, so that's what and usually I get sucked in on the Lions. Hard to justify betting the Commanders after they just got beat by the Giants for the second time. I love the Niners. I'm not a believer in the Seahawks with or without Geno. I hate picking favorites though, but.
And what are you going to do Friday? Dolphins -9.5, total 40.5.
100% taking the Jets.
Goodbye, Sal.
Timmy Boyle is going to spin it. Yeah.
We'll see. I cannot wait to text you Friday.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Sal.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you later.
All right, my many thanks to Mike North. A lot of great information from Mike. I learned a lot. Hopefully you did too. My thanks to Sal Licata. My thanks to you for listening. And if you have time, you're going to listen to some podcasts here over the holiday weekend. Go into the archives. Check out recent episodes of SI Media with Jimmy Traina. We had Ian Eagle on the podcast last week. RG3 and Peter Schrager were on 2 weeks ago. Dan Patrick, Bill Simmons, Joe Buck, Troy Aikman. All recent guests on SI Media with Jimmy Traina. So give those a listen. Subscribe to the podcast and leave a review on Apple. All right, that wraps it up. Hope you all have a great, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the day. Enjoy your family, food, football. And we'll see you next week with a new episode. Stay safe and take care.